What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're excited with the 2024 Dallas Cowboys season. Now, 12 days away. Lots of fun times here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing. We had some CeeDee Lamb reaction on Monday. Well, with his extension finally happening, we'll see if we get a Dak Prescott one before the regular season ultimately arrives. Today, for me, is Tuesday, August the 27th. Which means later on today you'll have another video from me here on the channel breaking down the initial Dallas Cowboys 53-man roster. But you have a video from me right now. I teased over the weekend throughout our post-game show, throughout our day after thoughts video, a special guest. We actually may have a second special guest, but we're here for the first one this week at least, and it is former NFL quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner, Robert Griffin III. RG3 was kind enough to join me for a conversation on Monday on behalf of Snickers and their Saddest Fortunes campaign, and his team, as you'll hear, was kind enough to send me a package. As you can see, it is chock full, some would say chocolate full, of, that's the information, of chocolate bars. There's a whole fun campaign that Snickers has going on here, and this box is very big. I didn't think this through as I opened it in front of the microphone. RG3 and I obviously talked about this, and we talked about the state of the Cowboys. Remember, we did have this conversation on Monday, like I said, and we had it before the CeeDee Lamb news. So that's why I don't touch on that with him. We talked mostly about Dak Prescott, though. RG3 had some tweets about Dak from a year ago. This whole campaign kind of revolves around telling and predicting the future, so I had a lot of fun with that. But I wanted to record this a little bit before I played the RG3 portion for you to explain that there were some technical issues throughout the course of the conversation. We're all very comfortable with Zoom in today's society. However, there was an issue where my video was not recorded. So you will see RG3 the entire time, and you will obviously hear me asking my questions, reacting, etc., but there's no video component for myself. It was an accident. Sometimes these things happen. I do my best to bring you fun and interesting conversations, fun and interesting guests, and sometimes, these things happen along the way. Like I said, be on the lookout. We're supposed to have another one later on this week as well. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. Heisman Trophy winner Robert Griffin III, former NFL quarterback and somebody who knows a thing or two about the NFL these days. I think you'll enjoy it. So thanks for hanging out, everybody. See you next time. Very pleased not to be joined here at Blogging the Boys on SB Nation by the one, the only, the extraordinary, the internationally famous, known all across the great state of Texas, inside the fine establishment of George's that I like to frequent when I stop in Waco. It is the one and only RG3, Robert Griffin III. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Nah, no problem. Thank you for having me on. And man, you just brought memories up with that George's reference.
I mean, if you stop, you have to. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, or not stop. If you have to stop, is rather my point. If you're driving through Waco, I know they have Fuego now and it's like right off the highway. It's super easy, but you have to go to George's. You have to get the alligator bites. If you have the time and the ability and you can be calm for a few hours, you have to have a big O. I mean, that's kind of the way things go there.
Yes, you definitely have to make that happen. And I know my guys over at George's are very excited that you just pubbed them twice. I love it.
That's what I'm here to do. RG3 is to pub. But I got to say one thing. So my name is RJ. My first name is Roel. I'm a junior. That's where that comes from. Okay. I have a son. So I've named him Roel the same way. Everybody was like, are you going to call him RJ3? And I thought, no, like, because the J isn't the first letter of my last name, the way, G is for you. It wouldn't make sense. So I've never really gotten the chance to ask you if you approve of not going with RJ3.
I mean, I would say your analysis is very sound, right? My nickname, RG3, is just my initials. And right. I think some people know that, some people don't. But at the same time, we've got people nicknamed the Claw, Superman, Spider-Man, and those aren't a part of their initials. So if you want to make him RJ3, go for it. I don't think there's anything that's preventing you from doing that.
I'll play this for him when he's a proper age and he can make that decision himself. That's looking down the line into the future. I have a lot of future and past looking that I want to do with you here today, but in order to kind of set the template for that, you're here on behalf of Snickers, and that's kind of the bare minimum level of what this whole project is. Can you please explain it for us?
Yes. So if you don't know, Snickers is the official chocolate sponsor of the NFL. And you talked about looking back and looking forward. Well, Snickers is partnered not only with the NFL, but also with a fortune teller by the name of Chocomancer to be able to help fans predict how their team's season is going to go. So I have one right here. It's Kansas City Chiefs. There's a whole bite guide that they can go to snickers.com/ backslash Status Fortunes to purchase their own kits, and it'll show them exactly what it takes for them to be able to predict their team's future. Now, I have seen or heard that some fans might actually try to predict their non-favorite team's future by, trying to manipulate the system a little bit with the bite guide. But hey, whatever you want to do is whatever you want to do. I think it's just a great excuse to have a delicious Snickers and dive more into football fandom.
I think that's very well said. So you talked about the rubric. I have it in front of me here.
Yep.
This kind of it lives and exists and is built upon the stability of the Snickers bar, the direction that the caramel pull happens, the peanuts, the nougat. There's a lot. Now you mentioned the kit. Your team was kind enough to send me one, and so my dentist is very grateful. 3 months out, as far as the bill that I'm going to obviously have here. And you talked about how there was a bar for every team. So I cover the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm gonna what's the worst possible result I can have if I break open the Eagles bar?
Oh, wow. I mean, so are you telling me that you're trying to break open the Eagles bar so that you can maybe predict that they're not going to have a great season, or what are you
RG3,
trying to do?
my team hasn't won the Super Bowl in almost 30 years. Pettiness is all I have. Pettiness is all I can control. So I mean, that's what I'm trying to find any sort of personal level of satisfaction that I could achieve besides eating the Snickers bar.
Yes. I mean, I guess you could just engulf the entire Snickers bar, and then there will be no bite. Right. And then you could say the Eagles are just not going to have a season. But, I look at this as there's fortune cookies, right? You can go to your favorite Chinese restaurant and get a fortune cookie, or you can make sure you open one of these Snickers bars and there's a fortune inside. And that allows you to predict what's going to happen with the rest of the season based off the bite that you make. So it's a multi-step process. But I would say, I don't know what the worst case scenario necessarily would be for the Eagles, but maybe take the smallest bite you can possibly imagine. And maybe that's
well done. Well, I'm grateful to be talking to you, partly because, once again, your team was very kind enough to send me this, and my family has been eyeing it prior to the interview, but I was like, we can't eat it before I speak to the man. Okay, so I mentioned I wanted to look in the past. You do such a great job covering the NFL today, covering quarterback play, and I have some receipts for you. You have been a Dak Prescott stan. I mentioned that I obviously cover the Dallas Cowboys. You have a tweet from last March 23rd, 2023, where you ranked the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFC. What do you think your top 5 was? Again, March of last year.
March of last year?
Yeah, 23. Coming off the Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl, just for full context.
It had to be Jalen 1. Then it had to be Brock.
Brock's
Dak.
not in your top 5 at that point in time. Right. Okay. He was coming off the injury too. There was the.
Okay. So this is before last year.
Correct.
Gotcha. So it's Jalen. Dak's got to be in there. Kirk Cousins is in there.
I'll stop you there, just so we don't waste a bunch of time here. Number 1, Jalen Hurts. Number 2, Kirk Cousins. Number 3, Dak Prescott. 4 and 5. I don't really care about this for the purpose of my discussion here. Kyler Murray, Geno Smith. So you've been a Kyler fan. There's a little bit of that momentum kind of picking back up, but. We're speaking on Monday, August the 26th. Do you know what you tweeted almost a year ago to the day about Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones? It was August 25th of last year. You had 2 tweets, actually.
August 25th. I don't know what the tweet was, but it might have been something along the lines of, I do believe Dak is a guy you win because, not a guy you win with. But
so we were in the chaos of Dallas having traded for Trey Lance, who you kind of stood up for a little bit.
I know exactly. I know what the tweet is. Yes.
Okay, what is it?
That Jerry Jones doesn't care that Trey Lance is going to create distractions. He only cares that people are talking about the Dallas Cowboys.
That's true. But I would amend what you said slightly because I know exactly what you said. You actually almost got it verbatim at the beginning. You wrote Jerry Jones, all caps, does not care what you think about him trading for Trey Lance. He doesn't care about the distraction it would create. He doesn't care about the questions people ask about Dak. All that matters to him is winning, and that we are all talking about the Cowboys. So if you can time travel, knowing your, status fortune or whatever the case may be now, would you amend that Jerry Jones cares about winning? Because we've now lived this entire offseason, and that is obviously a subject point that people have kind of come for over the course of the Cowboys not doing anything despite the all-in and whatever you may have.
No, I wouldn't, because I do think that Jerry Jones cares about winning. And I think this is a little bit of the Dallas Cowboys are America's team. I know Green Bay Packers fans will disagree with that, but the Cowboys are the only team that haven't won a Super Bowl in, 30 plus years or 30 years. And we still talk about them like they're going to win the Super Bowl every single season. But there's a reason for that. They've run 12 games 3 years in a row. It's just that they haven't won in the playoffs.
Right.
So I don't think that Jerry Jones is not equipping this roster with the right guys that they need to be competitive and actually have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Last year's roster, I thought, was a Super Bowl roster, despite what I heard from, maybe people flip-flopping on that a little bit. I don't flip-flop on my opinions. Opinions can change, but
Sure.
I'm not gonna tell you at the beginning of the year if this is a Super Bowl roster, and then they have the same roster at the end of the year, and tell you that it's not a Super Bowl roster. Like, that's just not the case. Did they go all in this year in the offseason? No, they did not. They did not go all in. We can all agree to that. But to say that, the Cowboys and Jerry Jones is not focused on winning, I do believe he's focused on winning. I just don't think he made a ton of winning moves this offseason, including not paying Dak, not paying CeeDee Lamb, and then leaking. I can't attribute this to Jerry because I got to be fair to him as well.
Sure.
But the leaks that came out about the displeasure with Micah Parsons, I also thought was like, what are we doing here? You're not paying your quarterback. You're not paying your star wide receiver. And now you're leaking out that your star defensive end, people have some issues with them inside the building. That just, to me, that's not conducive to winning.
So last one for you, because I know you're limited on time. And I think that we talk so much about Dak and CD and Micah, to your point. The Mike McCarthy of it all kind of gets lost. And first of all, you actually said something that is important, that opinions can change. Yeah, like what a big shock. Like as information, develops and passes, we can change how we think about things. But
right.
As far as Mike McCarthy is concerned, you also mentioned the Packers. My personal belief is the man lost a PR battle to Aaron Rodgers many moons ago, and that forced people to shape a particular opinion of him. But
Yes.
This is an organization of the Cowboys that obviously deals with a lot of fluff. You and I both know that. But Mike McCarthy has led them to 12 wins in each of the last 3 seasons. Nobody's hanging a banner for that. Like, nobody's saying that that's enough. But he's done it without Dak Prescott. He's done it in the face of all of this. And he said a year and change ago, right before your tweets that I referenced, you know what? I'm going to move on from Kellen Moore, this prodigy that everybody likes, because I think the offense can be better. And he was right. He was,
He was right.
And nobody gives him any credit for that. What do you think that is? Is that the Cowboys? Is that McCarthy? Is that Aaron Rodgers? Like, what is that as we get set to watch McCarthy enter what might be his final season with the team?
Yeah, RJ, I think you put so many things in perspective right there that are true. So I always like to hold myself accountable. And I said at the end of the year when the Cowboys season ended that they needed to replace Mike McCarthy. And the guy that I said that needed to replace him with was Deion Sanders at Colorado. And the reason I said that is because with Mike McCarthy, I've never felt like any of his teams have had the identity outside of the quarterback. Right, he wins a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, but the identity of that team was great defense, right, and Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
So you come to the Cowboys and you have a Dak Prescott quarterback who is a top 5 guy, right? Last year he was a runner-up for MVP. So anyone that tells you he wasn't a top 5 quarterback last year is simply just holding a grudge against him.
Mm-hmm.
And they had great defense, and they still weren't able to show up in the playoffs, and they got blown out by the Green Bay Packers. So for me, the issue with McCarthy isn't his X's and O's. The issue with McCarthy isn't his ability to win when Dak was out and he had Cooper Rush. The issue with McCarthy is that I don't feel like he has given the Cowboys an identity. And that is something that I know there are other coaches out there will certainly give their team an identity. And it's not just Deion. Mike Vrabel gave the Titans an identity. And I'm not saying that he should be the coach of the Cowboys. All I'm saying is this year, I hope that for Cowboys fans, that McCarthy can find a way to give them something that they haven't had over the last 3 years, which is an identity and a calling card that you can say, I know every week, this is the Dallas Cowboys team that's going to show up. Right now, we haven't seen that. They've won games. They just haven't consistently shown up, whether it be offensively being a running dominant team or passing dominant team, or on defense where they're playing with physicality.
That's well said. And I think really good context overall as it relates to Mike McCarthy. Once again, RG3 on behalf of Snickers, Saddest Fortunes. Everybody check it out. Get a kit just like me. My family's super grateful because now we can dive in. As you walk off, how many wins for this bar? The Cowboys right here.
How many wins? I'm going to say 11 wins for the Cowboys.
Okay. So regression. RG3 predicts the Cowboys to fall apart in 2024. RG3, next time we're in Waco together, which would be the first time ever, we're going to Georgia's. We're having some alligator bites. It's going to be a great time. There's your third plug.
Appreciate you, RJ. Much love, brother. God bless.